The Digital Photography Cafe show is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera, and by ShootProof, the easy way to proof and sell your photos online.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe show. Join hosts Trevor Curran and Joseph Christina as they chat about the art and business of photography.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is episode 127. I'm Joseph Christina here with my co-host, Trevor Curran. On last week's episode, we talked about the mirrorless Fuji X-E2, Sony's revolutionary full-frame mirrorless A7, and the brand new Nikon D5300. If you haven't watched last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it at our website, digitalphotographycafe.com, in iTunes, listen with the popular Stitcher, TuneIn, Xbox Music app, and watch in HD on TiVo.
Hey, Joe, we're back after a couple days in New York City, huh? How you feeling?
Yes, it's good. It's really good. It was kind of cold over there for the Floridian of
yes,
I am.
yes.
So.
Yeah, it was normal fall weather for me, but for you, it's a little chilly. Yeah, it was good. Overall, we had some nice weather. Some nice sun. You know, it wasn't too bad. Like I said, brisk in the air. I've been fighting this stupid head cold for weeks now, it seems like. So
yes, you have.
I wasn't 100%. And that's actually why we're not recording the show from PhotoPlus Expo, because I was just too jacked up. There was no way I could do that. I would sound awful.
Do it. Right.
Not 100% right now. I've got a lozenge in my mouth, so hopefully that'll prevent me from going hoarse and dry and stuff. And you won't hear a lot of smacking or anything.
I know. You got your liquid there, your hot liquid.
That's right.
But yeah, so it was it was an interesting trip. Had a lot of fun. We're going to get into a lot of the PhotoPlus Expo after we cover a couple of the things that kind of came about in the news, so to speak.
Yeah,
right?
our normal newsy stuff. Yeah, so one of the things that came up this past week, which is like a real, I don't know, eye-opener or something, but Twitter has now allowed you to receive direct messages from anyone who follows you if you opt into that setting. In the past,
like, it wasn't bad enough, right?
Man.
All the accounts that are hacked and the hundreds and hundreds upon all those DMs that we got that are all bogus. Now we can go just exponentially.
Yeah, now we can go get a whole bunch more of them. Yeah, this is a bad idea. I don't know what Twitter's thinking. I mean, they're constantly battling the spam and opening up the door to allow people to send you direct messages, even if you're not following them back, is just a really bad idea. You know, I don't even know what they're thinking. I strongly suggest that you guys do not select this box in your settings. If you go to your settings and look, you'll see a new box. It says allow, direct messages from anyone who follows you. It's not selected by default, so that's a good thing. In your curiosity, poking around through the settings, just make sure you don't check that. That's a bad idea.
Yeah, very bad.
Yes.
Don't do it. Absolutely, don't do it. Very bad idea. So then, of course, we have Apple, which has released a whole like barrage of things, right?
Yeah.
Which
they had a bunch of stuff.
A lot of good stuff. A lot of interesting things, I guess you could say. Right?
Yeah, they really did. They came out with the next generation of iPad, which is really pretty cool. They're calling it the iPad Air, and I guess what's making it the Air is that they actually reduce the physical size of the body itself. The screen is the same size, but they reduce the physical size of the body. So the body is thinner, and the bezel area that went around the glass is actually smaller now. So it's a little bit
just like they did with the iMacs. They made that bezel really small.
Right.
It kind of looks like it's pregnant in the back, but still the bezel is really small.
Right.
But the one thing that I really like is every one of them now has this Retina display, which is really kind of cool. I mean, it's just a beautiful. I mean, it was beautiful before, and now it's even better. So
yeah. I mean, it's really good. It's it's a lot of the same stuff. It's got your Retina. It's got your FaceTime camera on the front. It's got your rear camera. So, that's really cool. What they did do is they bumped up the processor in it, and it now has the A7 processor, which is the same processor that they put in the iPhone 5S, which is really nice. I mean, that is significantly faster, and you'll definitely see a lot more speed out of this iPad than you have the previous ones.
Right. They also bumped up the GPU, right? As they call it,
Yes.
the motion processing, whatever they want to call it, basically. So what is it, M7 they have now? This thing is turning more into like, a gaming machine.
It really is,
almost. It's really, really powerful. They're talking about, what is it, 8 times the performance, 72 times faster graphics performance.
I know.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
You're talking, this is huge. That's not a little bit. That's huge. And the thing that's interesting is you have so much more processing power now, so much more speed, and you have a Retina display, and they're able to keep, the battery life the same as before. It's
Right.
just, amazing. I'm sure it was a serious feat to be able to make that happen.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, that's Apple's thing lately, is to really try and, maintain battery life or extend battery life while increasing the performance, which is really good. I mean, without having hands-on experience with this new equipment and actually doing real world tests, watching some videos, surfing the web and stuff like that, you don't know for sure. But they've made great strides with the laptops as well in extending this battery life. So I feel that, they're probably going to be fairly accurate as to their estimates of battery life. So I think we can all probably, count on that.
Right. And you're looking at a start of $500. They go 16, 32, 64, and 128 gig as far as the models. They start at $500. They go up to, $629. That's either Wi-Fi only or Wi-Fi plus cellular network, however you want it. They're available November 1st, which is cool. And what's interesting is the Mini was also released in this same type of new format with the A7 chip and all this stuff. And it's the same thing, you have the Retina display, but it's tiny, which is so cool, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what really interests me about the Mini. I like my iPhone for the convenience of it. But it is a little bit hard to read things on screen sometimes. I mean, I wear glasses and I'm constantly like having to zoom in on those non-responsive websites, which is quite annoying. The email, I had to pump up the font size a little bit. My text messages, I had to pump up the font size. But what I like about the iPad Mini is you get that bigger screen, but again, not as large as the full size. So it really is more of a one-hander as opposed to, needing both hands. And, I really like that. And, for me, if I were to buy a new iPad, I think I would actually get it with the mobile radios in it. It's a little bit more money, but the reason I'm thinking this is the mobile data usage is pay as you go. So you can sign up, no contract, no commitment. You pay for whatever usage you want, and then it's done. And that's really convenient when you talk about, maybe needing to go to client meetings or what have you, and you want to be able to access some online libraries or whatever. I mean, I would love for like the MacBook Airs or the MacBook Pros to have this mobile, these mobile cellular radios built into them and the same type of pay as you go. I mean, I would be all over that, but right now they don't have that. So as an option, rather than going with a MiFi device or a dongle of some sort, these iPads could really fill that niche.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and as far as these go, looking at what $399 is what the number is, and then the original one is dropped down to $299, which is great.
Yeah.
That means obviously the other one, the original or the past one is still good, it's still viable, and they didn't discontinue it. They just lowered the price by $100, which is fantastic. I tell you what, though, for $100, guys, I will take that Retina display all day long.
Yeah,
the faster chipset.
It's going to be much faster. Yeah.
Faster graphics processor, faster. For $100, that's definitely worth, not going with the older version of the exact same thing.
Right.
So,
right. I agree. Just spring for the extra couple bucks if you're going to get one for sure.
Yep.
And they updated the MacBook Pro line with Retina displays. So now all of the MacBook Pro line has Retinas. which is great. I mean, you had the option before, but now it's just every one of them has it. Awesome.
Yeah, and what I'm guessing is obviously they're going to get the speeds up on this, number one, and then also they've probably kind of worked out the little, they tweaked it probably a little bit, because I know the Retina at first, when they, they first released it, it was kind of laggy here and there, because it was pushing so many, pixels.
It's a lot of information, sure.
A lot of information. So, in certain instances, it would get a little bit choppier, a little bit laggy. I'm going to guess that that's already all taken care of and all gone. So,
right.
Which is good. I mean, I think everything's going to just, there'll be nothing else besides Retina displays. And that's a good thing, So MacBook Pro with Retina, great. They're looking at a battery life of 8 to 9 hours, which is, good considering, you have the improved graphics.
Yeah.
So, no complaints there.
No, it's got a new processor, a new faster processor, the Haswell processor, which is great.
Right.
So you're going to get more performance out of it. And of course, these new machines are all going to be running Mavericks, which is the software itself is designed to be more efficient, both in processing and battery life. So I think that's part of the reason they're able to increase the performance and increase the battery life as well. And you know what? These 13-inch MacBook Pros Retina displays starting at $1299. That's a fantastic deal.
Yeah, I agree. So, you have the Thunderbolt 2 ports. Obviously, it's probably, not quote unquote active as of yet, but those ports are sitting there. You have the Wi-Fi, of course, the AC, the 802.11 AC, the latest and greatest. So it's very cool. It's funny when the release came out, Cook came up with this quote, and it was kind of interesting. He says, "Our competition is different. They're confused." I love that. They're confused. They chased after the netbooks, right? That's exactly what happened. Now they're trying to make PCs into tablets and tablets into PCs. Who knows what they will do next?
Yeah, I know. That was funny. He got.
I love it. It was a big roar.
Yeah, he got a chuckle out of the crowd on that one. But to a certain extent, that is true. I mean, kudos for Windows for trying different things with their Surface tablets and such.
Windows 8.
Yeah, and the Windows 8 and the clickable keyboards and all that good stuff. I mean, you've got to try things, right? You got to throw some spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah. See what sticks, yeah. Absolutely. So, Mac Pro.
Yes.
I know this is what's near to dear to you because you're the Mac Pro user. I'm more of the, I have the iMacs throughout the studio type of thing. But the Mac Pro, that's the one that we said that you can stick a wok on top of it and heat it from the bottom.
Yeah, it's this little tiny,
really cool cylinder design.
Yeah, it's this little cylinder design now, which is totally different than any other Mac Pro tower or even full size desktop tower that they've ever done. Totally new configuration. It's a really interesting format. It's all flash based, flash hard drives, fast RAM.
Right.
It is very interesting, but it's also quite expensive.
Yeah,
You're
$3,000, right?
An entry level of $3,000. And there's no monitor.
What does that get you? The $3,000. What does it get you? 3.7 gigahertz quad core Xeon, of course, 12 gig RAM, dual Fire Pro. So you're getting a lot here. SSD is 256. I would like to see more, like a 512, but whatever. You're still getting 256 SSD. The thing is this is still a crazy machine. Insane speeds. Great for doing multiple feed HD video. You can probably do 4K without even a hiccup. Probably multiple feed 4K. It's just powerful. Bottom line is it's a powerful.
It is very
machine.
powerful, and the Thunderbolt protocol is so fast now that it's just blowing away any type of internals that we used to have. That people were doing video with and stuff. So getting your hands on these good fast Thunderbolt drives, chaining a bunch of them together, and you can get some insane throughput rate. So we'll have
to talk about that later. We spoke to someone about that at the show. Rating those things together. I mean, Thunderbolt 2 is just amazing. I mean, I think after Thunderbolt is all done, and I think eventually we're just going to start going into light computing, and just everything will just be light based. Period, and we'll stop moving data, quote unquote, around. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with it. But Thunderbolt 2 right now is by far the fastest out there.
Oh yeah.
and this takes advantage of it, full bore. So it's definitely pretty cool. Now, the one thing that we saw and you saw on your computer and I saw on mine, it came up with, hey, you want to download the latest OS. And it's like, what is that? Normally as Apple users, we know that we have to go to the store, we have to go and order online for $19.95. Obviously it's not like Windows where you have to go spend, hundreds of dollars for the latest OS. But with Mac has always been that we're all about the hardware, not about the software. Here's the OS, take it, $20, call it a day. But this time we get a little prompt that says, hey, do you want to download Mavericks? It's the latest OS.
Right.
Kind of cool, right?
Right. Yeah. And they're doing it for free, which is quite interesting. Back like early on, to upgrade your Mac operating system was, $100, $125. It was kind of comparable to what a Windows OS update would be. And then over the last few iterations, they've dropped that price down to that $20 point. And now with Mavericks, they're making this free, which really is interesting. They're claiming, they're hardware people and, but they're creating this great software. But what they're doing is they're making this software backwards compatible with old hardware, which is quite interesting.
Exactly.
And their reason being is they're saying that they want to be able to get the latest and greatest technologies in more people's hands, who are running older machines, older laptops, older desktops, older iMacs, which is great. I mean, they're going all the way back to like 2008 with compatibility with a lot of these machines. And that's great. I mean, my Mac Pro doesn't fall into that. Mine's a 2006. So unfortunately I can't upgrade that, but, I mean, this is really good. I like,
it's definitely, I took the plunge, and obviously not for the, the studio, machines that, of course, we have, data that's on there that we have to make sure that we can edit, and we need to make sure that it's working properly because it is production machines. But our Airs that we have, we decided to go ahead and do it. We found that it was like a 5.2 gig download, which is not small.
Right.
After that downloaded, it was probably like a 20-minute install, and that was it. Done. The thing is now running, Mavericks. I did notice that since we do use Premiere and Lightroom and Audacity and Audition and all the rest of these, programs for building video and audio, it did come up, hey, this machine needs the latest version of Java. Do you want to download it? And we just said yes, boom, and installed it. Everything else was up to date. Nothing else had to be done besides get that latest version of Java. So
that's good.
And that's it.
Yeah, now you have to test it and see how all of the software runs with it and everything. I mean, because this is still a very new release. I mean, it only, it's been in beta for quite some time, but as far as the Gold Master being out there, it was only just announced and released last week. So I'm sure that there's going to be bugs. As with any software, but, overall, I'm sure that it's going to be, working fairly well. What I like about it is, again, the design of the software. They've optimized it to, basically compress memory. So you can have multiple applications running, but the applications that you're not using right now, it kind of squashes the memory requirements for those down, which again knocks down on the amount of processing goes on, which knocks down on the amount of energy needed to run, which, allows you to extend your battery life. And that's really what they're talking about here.
To kind of bring it into like a practical on how that works. So let's say if you have like 6 programs open and only one that you've been using for like the last hour, you still have data that's currently hot, let's say active, for those applications that are open. So what it will do is let's just say archive or use zip or some type of format to compress those applications that are in memory, that memory applicate, and stick it someplace. And then as soon as you go to access one of the other applications that you haven't accessed for, let's say for the next, for the last hour, whatever that number is, it unzips it in theory, and then you could start using it. By so doing, it's just, it's using less and less and less of that space. So if you have an 8 gig machine, you might find it run a little bit quicker, especially if you're doing large type things. Let's say you're editing video, because now it's compressing a lot of that. instead of you going to have to, bang into your virtual drive, which is, on the machine itself,
Right.
to go and cache what you're doing. So, I could see this being a major, it's going to definitely speed things up. It's going to definitely improve battery life on any of the laptops.
Right.
I think overall, it's a great idea, and it's a great new architecture or way of doing things. I tell you what, I'm going to report back to you guys was this entire show. I decided I'm going to just do the entire edit, audio and video, everything on that laptop. And see if it works. See if all of these, all of the programs do work with the new OS. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's great. That'll be a good test. That'll be definitely be.
Yeah.
They also updated, a few of the core apps: Safari, Pages, Calendar, Maps, iBooks. A bunch of stuff like that. So yeah. I mean, this definitely looks like a pretty good update. Definitely something that I'm going to check out after you beta test it for me. And
thank you very much.
I'll look at putting it on a couple of my other machines, and then eventually I'm going to upgrade the hardware, and it'll just come with Mavericks.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, guys, before we get into PhotoPlus Expo and our thoughts and what happened and all the hot and what's not, let's go ahead and take a quick break to hear from a couple of our sponsors.
Are you frustrated with slightly out of focus images when you know your autofocus spot was dead on? It's simply not your fault. From manufacturer to manufacturer, and even lens copy to lens copy, there are slight variances to the exact spot where light is being focused onto the sensor. Finally, there's a product that allows you to compensate for those variances and make sharper images immediately. Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool, is an absolute must for every photographer. If you want to make the sharpest images possible, then you need to take control over your camera's focusing system. With the Focus Pyramid, you can calibrate all of your lenses on your lunch break. The Focus Pyramid makes lens calibration quick and easy at an affordable price. So give your lenses a new lease on life and take your photography to the next level. Head over to focuspyramid.com/DPC and get an additional 10% off just for being a show listener. As photographers, we're always trying to increase sales and profits after every event.
We shoot an event and have hundreds or even thousands of images that just sit on our hard drives.
Perhaps a better workflow would increase sales by getting those valuable images in front of the client.
That's where ShootProof comes in. At shootproof.com, you can have an online gallery for all of your clients' proofing needs.
ShootProof helps increase profits while building your brand and securing your photos without charging commission fees on sales.
ShootProof galleries display your photos beautifully while helping to streamline your workflow and automate more of your business through their intuitive studio control panel.
Once approved, photos can be directly fulfilled through ShootProof's various professional lab partners or fulfilled by you.
All ShootProof plans have the same feature set. You simply choose the number of client photos stored, decide what products to sell, and the price.
Try ShootProof today by taking advantage of their free 30-day trial offer.
As a Digital Photography Cafe viewer, ShootProof is offering a 20% discount off any of their premium plans by using promo code DPC20 at checkout.
ShootProof. Upload, share, sell, print.
So we're back, and we're back from PhotoPlus Expo. And Joe, that was a pretty cool trip. I do have to say we had a good time. 3 days in the city. The city is not cheap. So we dropped a couple bucks,
My God.
had some mediocre
Yes.
meals and some good ones too.
That's correct. That is correct.
But met a lot of people. We put the shout out there for any of our listeners and viewers who were going to be at PhotoPlus that want to meet up. And we met up with a couple different people, which was great. We saw a lot of familiar faces, people that we've interviewed in the past, vendors, reps from different companies, and other people who just attend, just kind of running into like old friends and stuff. So it's always fun to do these shows,
Meeting with the fans is always great, right? That was fun. We got to meet with a bunch of fans. We, had one fan we got to actually sit and speak to for a while. And of course, meeting with the, current sponsors, past sponsors, and future sponsors.
Yep.
That's kind of, what we were really, kind of doing. It was very enjoyable. I mean, what was the entire show about? Kind of like, what was that one key feature or that one key thing? And I think the entire show kind of, the main thing was the mirrorless thing. I think mirrorless is just really starting to take hold, as we said that it would months and months and months ago. And it was definitely, apparent in this year's show for sure, right, John?
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty much every major manufacturer that was there were highlighting their, new mirrorless interchangeable lens cameras. The Wi-Fi connectivity was also something that was really big with the manufacturers as well. Something that we saw that was really cool. There were like 2 or 3 different companies, and this, talk about a niche. Whoever would have thought this, but these helicopter rigs that you can mount little cameras on are like, we're getting a lot of people around the booth. I was really amazed with this. We stopped and looked at this one company for a while. Got a little bit closer look at the equipment and all, and they're basically just using like a GoPro on a motorized mount on the bottom of this thing.
Right.
They've got like 4 to 6 rotors that make this thing fly, and then in the remote control that you hold in your hands, there's actually a viewing screen, and you can use that to actually view the camera, move and pan and tilt the camera and stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah.
So
and they're starting at what, like $300?
Yeah.
Very, very, economical. I mean,
yeah.
Okay, so guys, if you do a wedding, can you imagine this? Okay, you're doing an outdoor wedding and you're doing some wedding, some video and some stills. Now imagine you take this up, you have one of your assistants take this up and do a full 360 around the wedding, but from overhead, and take video of what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to stand out. I mean, that would just be just crazy.
Yeah,
and be like, did you hire a helicopter? How did you get these shots? So yeah, all of these type of little, when you see things like this, you have to kind of think of, what can I do with it to either set myself apart or make more money?
Right.
What is the use? It's not a toy.
No, it's definitely not a
used
toy.
as a toy.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something you could, can be used to set yourself apart and definitely make more money. I mean, who does that? Who's out there doing that right now? Not many people. And if you're that guy, and you can market it properly, you might get, more events than the next guy because you have this technology and have this ability. It's pretty cool.
That's right. I was watching America's Funniest Videos last night, and they actually had a clip from one of these helicopter cams. And I guess the operator was not experienced yet and used a little too much forward and not enough up, and slammed right into the bride and groom as they're kissing. It was funny.
Yeah, that works out well.
Crashes to the ground.
So make sure you have your $1 million liability insurance. All right, before you just like we all have, especially down here in Florida. I mean, we have 2 million, but yeah, it's just something that you have to have. But yeah, so then at that point, you don't mind crashing into the back of the officiant's head.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's just cool. It's just simply cool. Like we've said in the past, set up these little cameras all over the place and capture all of this B-roll footage, either stills or video, and you can use it after the fact, and it'll be a different viewpoint that no one else gets. So
yeah,
it'll definitely set you apart. So yeah, it was very cool. I like those little helicopters. Very cool.
So when we came into the trade show floor, you walk through the main doors and you got to pick a direction to go. So we went down one aisle, and one of the first booths that we came to was Samsung, and they had this massive television on this stand. It's like a tripod type of stand. The thing had to have been 6 feet wide. I mean, it was massive.
Yeah, it was huge.
4K.
And it was 4K video, which is crazy. Yeah, it had that like easel type stand, but what was really neat is the stand allows you to kind of manipulate the orientation of the TV.
Right.
So no matter where, how tall you are or how high it is, you can direct it so it's exactly pointing at you or whoever.
Right.
So it's amazing. And we're looking at the footage, right? And the footage looks almost three-dimensional. It's just so crystal clear. And then at the very bottom, it says shot with the Galaxy NX. We're like, there's no way.
Yep.
There's no way, right?
I know.
And sure enough.
Yeah, we talked about this camera back on episode 119. And it's basically a little mirrorless interchangeable lens camera, but it's got the Android operating system built into it. It's got a huge screen on the back. It's like a 4.8-inch LCD. It's a big screen. And all this footage, this beautiful 4K footage looked amazing on this TV. You know, obviously this is a trade show.
Yeah.
They're going to make it look, you know, primo. You know, they're not going to put anything up there
absolutely.
that's mediocre. But the idea is that it was shot on this camera, and you know, this camera is not a big camera. I mean, it's not as big as a full body DSLR. You know, but it's still shooting 4K video. And that's like 4 times the resolution of regular HD.
Yeah, and it's shooting with an APS-C
Yep.
CMOS, right? Which is, you know, that's great. You know, 20 megapixel camera. Yeah, if you look at the back, it actually looks like an Android phone is like strapped. It's like part of the camera itself.
Yep, full touch
and that's
screen.
really what it is.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And, you know, we talked about this on episode 119, I think we went back to. But what's really interesting here is what we talked about in 119 is that, you know, hey, you know, cameras are starting to, you know, become smart. You know, they have quad cores in them. You know, they have Android operating systems. Like, there's going to be a ton of applications out there for your phone, right?
Yeah.
It's coming. It's like right around the corner. And sure enough, in the same booth, what do we find?
Yeah.
A brand new company that does something that's just amazing, just simply with an app, right?
Yeah. So as we're standing there looking at this huge TV and, you know, checking out the Galaxy NX camera, a guy comes up to us from a company called Wi-Pics. So Wi-Pics basically created an application that integrates with the Android operating system on the Galaxy NX cameras. And attached with that is like a wireless printer, let's say, that you wear on your hip. It's like a little tiny, you know, thermal printer, or like a little dot, almost like I'd say like a dot matrix, but not really. I mean, it's, you know, it's all, but it's very small. It's just black and white. The idea behind their company is data association. So you take a picture with this camera, okay, and then what it will do is it will print out a receipt with a QR code on it. And then you can hand that to somebody, and then they can take their smartphone and scan the QR code, or just go to the web address that prints out on the receipt. And they can actually view that photo that was just taken. So they did a test.
That's the key word there. Just taken, right, Trev?
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to show a picture, but the guy took a picture of us, and, you know, you looked it up on your phone, you know, scanned that QR. I mean, it was seconds after.
Yes.
And sure enough, you know, our photo is already online, you know, ready for purchase or to do whatever. So guys, could you imagine this at, let's say, you know, any type of event, and, you know, you're just taking pictures, you're just handing out these like little QR codes and URLs. Yeah. And right then there at the, you know, on the spot, these people, you can brand them if you wanted to, you know, on the back end or whatever you want to do. They can, right there on the spot, they can share these images, let's say on Facebook. They can order prints. Whatever you want them to do, you can do. And this is simply from that application that can actually be just inserted into the camera via Android. Yeah. I mean, there you go. This is what we were talking about months ago. It's just amazing. It's done. It's here.
I mean, you guys, I'm sure, have all been to amusement parks where you walk through the gate and there's people that barrage you with cameras saying, "Oh, take your picture," and you know, then they give you this little piece of paper, and you're supposed to go to the kiosk later in the day and you can pick up your prints.
Right.
Same type of idea, only now it's like in real time, and they're tracking it. And, you know, they've given you this thing, and now you can scan it. You can share it on Facebook. I tell you, this is definitely a value add. Now, maybe you don't want to use the Galaxy NX camera as your primary shooter. But if you are shooting an event, it's a small camera. It's great. You could carry it on a strap on your hip or wherever, and just, you know, shoot with your DSLR or whatever your camera of choice is for your main shots. And then take another shot or two with this camera and start handing out these things, handing out these receipts. It's a great way to help promote your business because it's all branded. Absolutely. It can all be branded with your identity on it. It's a great way to drive traffic. It's a great way to get your name out there, and especially through social sharing.
You know, how we used to have to do it is I would have an assist. I would be taking shots. I would have a runner that would run, you know, my CF cards back to a laptop. They would go ahead and download those pictures, give me a fresh, you know, card that I would start shooting with. they would go and upload those images, edit them, shrink them, upload them, all behind the scenes, so that, this was our value added.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, you don't need the runner, you don't need the guy behind the, laptop doing this stuff.
Yep.
You just basically need this one camera hanging around your neck, and that's pretty much about it. So yeah, it's very interesting on what you can do with it. And, the thought process here is, okay, so how do I make money with it? Because the bottom line is that's what it's all about. It's time or money. Either it's going to save you time, or, it's going to make you money, or it's going to do both. And this might actually do both. It's kind of cool.
It may do both. And I believe he said that the app was $4.99, so it's not cheap. I mean, you think you're spending $499 for an Android app, but it's that is what adds all the functionality. That's what you're paying for.
And what he was saying is it's not a monthly fee or anything. It's just a one-time purchase, which is good. And, you sell 10 prints, 20 prints, some enlargements or whatever. You've already recouped it. Now you can use it for the next 2 or 3 years or whatever.
That's right.
So, yeah, I definitely think it's interesting. And I just like that here is that application that we've talked about, that's going to be coming. Here's one that actually came that is of value.
Yep.
I mean, it's just,
it takes care of
amazing.
this new Android operating system idea. It takes care of the Wi-Fi connectivity idea that we've been talking about. I truly believe that within the very short future, you're going to see a lot more services cropping up that take advantages of these built-in functionalities in the cameras now.
Yeah.
So,
and at that point, you're going to see a lot of pros that migrate from the major brands, the Nikons, the Canons, or whatnot, because they are closed systems that will not be able to take advantage of this type of thing, and start migrating into these type of shooting devices, these cameras, Samsung or whoever that allows you to do this. So yeah, very, very cool. Now I tell you what, moving forward, the Sony, we talked about this camera. We actually got to do some FaceTime with it, some hands-on, play with it a little bit. It's the Sony A7 and the Sony A7R.
Right.
One's like 20 plus megapixels. The other one is 30 plus. It's a very interesting camera, right?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it on last week's show also, and on paper, the camera sounds phenomenal. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be really, really good. The biggest thing that we saw that was the downside of it was the noise from the mechanical shutter. And we did witness that firsthand. It is quite noisy. And even in the loud convention hall where everybody was, I mean, you could still hear this thing. So it's not the type of camera that I would suggest, shooting in a very quiet situation, like in the middle of a church and you're clack, clack, clack. And I mean, it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be any louder than a Canon, right?
No. Oh my God.
No.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be loud. So if you're buying it for the idea of being stealthy, you're really not going to get that.
No. The thing that I really like about it, is they've strapped on a full frame sensor onto a mirrorless camera, and they've made it extremely compact. Okay, so that's where they win. So we're about 75%, there.
Oh yeah.
There's a couple of down points. I don't like the noise that it's making, number one. Number two, autofocus is snappy if you use the Sony lenses, but as soon as you snap on any other manufacturer lens, it really slows down dramatically. Now, I tell you what, Zeiss made that's just crazy. What is it, $4,000 or $5,000? What is it? The Otis lens.
Otis lens. Yeah, we talked about that like a week or two ago. Yeah.
That lens is 4 pounds, guys. I mean, it's like medium format glass.
Yeah.
Literally, we talked about it last week, but we actually got to hold it.
Yeah.
And that thing is heavy. The speed at autofocus is acceptable. I mean, it's pretty quick. But they were talking about being able to strap on any glass. So you take your Canon, your Nikon, whatever, strap it on with the adapter.
Yep.
So we got to play with that also. And let's just say non-stellar, mediocre results.
It's not fast enough
because the autofocus is just slow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's painfully slow.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, you could probably strap on, another, manufacturer's glass with that adapter and shoot stills, or
studio
shoot,
work, tabletop work,
studio,
things
product
like that.
photography maybe.
But definitely not event photography.
But that's it.
No.
Oh my God, no. Not event, not portrait, not anything that you need to be in there and just clack, be in there and just make sure that focus dead on, because it's hunting sometimes.
Right.
It's very slow, painfully slow. But I tell you what, Sony is the first to strap on that full frame CMOS, that full frame sensor onto a mirrorless camera,
Yeah.
and kudos to them. So they're right there.
They are.
They're there. So
Yeah, they're almost
we'll see what
there.
ends up happening
The
with that.
next iteration, I'm sure, will probably be better, and fix a lot of these little issues that we were talking about. So, my first instinct would say maybe not purchase the A7, A7R yet, because it's not an impulse buy by any means. I mean, they are expensive bodies. So I'm thinking I would probably wait until the next iteration. And then take
I
a
would
look at
agree
it.
110%. You don't want to jump in on the first iteration of something brand new, like, a mirrorless full frame and with a couple of quirks to it. Just let them
Let 'em work
kinda
out
massage
the
those out.
issues first.
Let someone else beta test for you instead of you being the beta tester. So, also, we saw the company Drobo, which is one of your favorites,
Yep.
At the show, and they had this really cool brand new product, and you actually purchased the product right then and there because you just loved it so much. And that's called the Drobo Transporter, right?
Yeah, it's a Drobo Transporter 2. So basically what this is it allows you to create a private peer-to-peer cloud storage system. So if you could picture it, it's a small cylindrical device. It kind of tapers at the top, and it has a 2.5-inch basically notebook hard drive inside of it. You plug it into your Ethernet network, plug it into the wall, you set it up. And basically what it allows you to do is you can connect to this device from anywhere in the world. Even if you're on a dynamic IP address with your local internet provider. It basically has software that kind of phones home and tells it what your IP address is when you need it.
Just think about your own personal Dropbox. That's what it is.
Yes.
And it's probably the size of a pack of cigarettes or something.
Yeah,
it's tiny
small.
thing.
Yeah, it's really small. What I like about it is, it allows you to have that freedom. You can store file. You can set through the software. You can set it up to sync certain files over to this hard drive. And when you sync those files, then those files now become available over the internet through internet access.
Right.
I love that. I love being able to access the files wherever you are. You're out on a shoot, or for me, I need so a logo for a client or something because I'm working remotely or what have you, and I don't have it on my laptop with me. I can go in and grab it and have it in a matter of seconds because I have really fast internet here at the office. The other thing that I really like is it's great for sharing files with your customers. And this is really where I'm planning on using it. I work with a lot of customers who have a lot of assets that they need to send me to be used in their websites. Before we would use Dropbox. Dropbox works great. I like the syncing. I like the desktop syncing where you have the folder, everything is right there. The issue is you have to pay. They give you 2 gigabytes of storage for free. After that, you have to pay. With this, you don't have to pay. You buy the equipment.
And it's slow. I mean, this is creating like almost a peer-to-peer type
This is
connection.
peer-to-peer, yeah. So you're downloading at whatever speed that the network is connected to. You're not relying on a third-party server for this. So that's really big. I'm really interested in that. And the third thing that I find really interesting usage for this is automated backups, offsite backups.
Right.
Because again, you have this syncing folder. So if you tell the device that you want, a particular folder on your hard drive to be synced, it will copy those over, and every time there's a change, it'll copy it over, and it will copy it onto that device. Well, that device can be located anywhere. It doesn't need to be in your studio. It could be at your house, which may be a few miles down the road. It could be at a relative's house. Doesn't need to be at your physical location to work. So
So people out there would say, oh, well, I have a Linux box that's on all the time and that's my server, or I have, some other device that I have set up as as some type of NAS, some network that is exposed to out on the internet that I can access or whatnot. The thing that always happens in this case is that your IP address changes. It's dynamic, especially if you're going with DSL or you're going through Comcast or some other provider. Your power goes out or reboots or who knows what. All of a sudden your IP has changed. And now you can't find your data anymore.
Yeah, you can't access
this device is really you can't access it. This is really cool because it's continuously phoning home and letting the servers, their servers, know what your IP address is. So no matter where you are, when you're there or whatnot, you can always get to that data, even if that dynamic IP address has changed. So that's invaluable. That's great.
Right. The price of the unit is not bad. As an empty unit with no hard drive, it's $199. With a 1 terabyte hard drive, you're looking at another $100. You're looking at $299. Which actually is a really good deal because I did look at these hard drives on Amazon, and to get the same hard drive through Amazon, it was like $160. So you're saving money. But the reason I bought it so quickly is because they had an incredible show deal going on. So I wound up getting the unit from Adorama for $229. So I couldn't pass that up. I saved $70 on it.
No, absolutely. Just that terabyte drive is a chunk of money there. I'm a G technology guy. I do the G drives instead of Drobo, over here. And we got to meet with them, which was really interesting, and got to hear all the stuff that they're working on and the Thunderbolt technology and Thunderbolt 2 and what's the difference between it. Very, very knowledgeable guys over there. And we also got to speak to the folks over at Lacey, because we love, the Lacey people, and they have this really cool this monster, this little, I guess you would say it's a 5-bay Thunderbolt drive that does both, striped as well as mirrored as a unit for backing up. And it really looks interesting. Like I said, I'm a G drive kind of guy, but when you look at the specs and whatnot on this Lacey drive, it's kind of cool, very fast. And they seem to really be doing it right over there.
Yeah, I mean, with this unit, set up as a RAID, which is the way it was designed to work, you're getting 785 megabytes per second transfer, which is just incredibly fast. And I mean, and obviously this is a Thunderbolt drive, so you have to be working with modern hardware that supports Thunderbolt. But I mean, that's really fast. The drives are hot swappable, so if one of them died on you or you had a problem, you could pull it out, insert another one, and the RAID would rebuild itself.
Right.
It does not do RAID 5, which I know is something that we were kind of surprised about.
Yeah. I'm always interested in RAID 5 as well as RAID 10. But regardless, any of backup is backup, but it's how it's done. I like the idea of having striped drives and then those striped drive backed up on 2 other striped drives.
Right. And that's where a RAID 5 would come in. And
that's where you get exactly. And then the 5th drive, you got your parity or whatnot. It's actually spanned across. But regardless, I like that idea because what happens is you get the best of both worlds. You get the extreme speed of, the stripe drive, and then you get your backup by having the mirror also. So that's the way I like to do things. So this is the way I like doing it. It's good. It works. And if you're starting, now 4K is out there that, we're going to start having to process. You need to have extreme speed. And, the pipes that carry the data are so big now, whereas it used to be, I guess the weakest link was the data connection. So it'd be like Firewire 400, Firewire 800 was the fastest.
You were limited by the bus.
Then finally USB 2, you're limited by the bus. Now, the pipe on for example, USB 3, or double that, one of the Thunderbolts, it's so big that now we're basically limited by how fast it can actually read and write.
How fast the processor is and how fast the hard drives are. Yeah,
we're starting. So it's shifted.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I like it. If you guys haven't looked at either the G Technology stuff or Lacey stuff or the Drobo, they're all great options. It just depends on what you're more comfortable with. The one thing that I did like about Drobo is, I know that was one of the big issues with you is the whole idea of being proprietary.
Right.
And they kind of answered that question a little bit for us, right, when we were there?
Yeah, they did. They do provide a service so that if if the Drobo does crap out on you,
Right.
they will get the data back. They will, fix it for you and or that type of thing, which is good. We did specifically talk to them about that, because when you have your own setup, like a LaCie or a G Technologies, with the RAID system, it's kind of your own thing. You've got control over it, and it's normal RAID. It's a normal RAID setup that can be created just using the disk utility, for if you don't have any other software to do it with. But Drobo is proprietary. So yeah, we did ask them about that, and they did say that they do offer that service. So that definitely made me feel a lot better. About using their equipment. I mean, I'm a big fan anyway. I've had it running for me, very reliably for years now.
Because we know that there was a couple of big people in the industry that really bashed Drobo, a couple of months ago because of the problem that they had and not being able to get back to their data and whatnot. So we asked them about it. They came up with a great answer, and that we have to share it with you guys. So Drobo's getting, they're, whenever there's a problem, as long as they come back and fix it, then everything is fantastic. If they just kind of push it under the rug and just keep going forward, then we're going to tell you about that too. So but kind of moving forward, we saw someone that we interviewed a couple of years ago from Fuji there, which is Casey Baker, and she is absolutely wonderful. And we wanted to talk to her about the new Fuji offerings, and what a great experience with her, right?
Yeah, she's great. We interviewed her at WPPI in Las Vegas. I think in 2012 is when we did it. And they, of course, Fuji's latest offering is the XE2, which we talked about on last week's show as well. So now we're actually getting to see this hardware up front and in personal. And this was really a nice camera. And one thing we noticed though, Joe, is a lot of people are walking around with what appeared to be these Fuji mirrorless cameras.
These
hanging around
these
their
range
necks.
finders.
Yeah.
We said this, many times in the past. These type, smaller, lighter weight.
Yep.
I'm sure many of you guys know who Zach Arias is. Zach was there. He was at the booth, and I know one of the guys came. I don't know if he just bought the camera there or whatnot, but he came up to Zach and had him sign the back of his camera, and which was a great photo.
Yeah, he's
op,
a
right?
big
sure
Zach
you'll
fan.
See that. Yeah. We saw, and I saw Casey taking that picture. So that'll probably be up on the website soon, if not already on Facebook or somewhere. But you're absolutely 100% right. I mean, we're seeing a lot of people with the range finders around their neck in comparison to the big 6-pound hanging around their neck. So things are there's definitely change afoot. It's not the way it used to be. There's definitely, like we said at the beginning, mirrorless is really starting to take hold, and now as it's getting better and better, Fuji's got an APS-C sensor, and I tell you what, Casey showed us some pictures that she personally took.
Yeah. I mean, she's a marketing manager, but she's definitely a photographer. I mean, she's got a great eye. And these pictures were beautiful. I mean, they were just JPEGs. They weren't raw. They weren't converted. They were shot JPEG out of the camera. She printed them, and these are enlarged printings that were, prints hanging on the wall. And they were beautiful. I mean, the color saturation was beautiful. The quality of the pixel, the resolution, and obviously the printer makes a big difference here too.
Absolutely.
But there was no noise. There was a lot of low light samples that she showed, and there was no noise. It was very clean.
No. The grain almost had like a film type of grain to it.
Yeah.
It just looked beautiful. No moire. On the one was like flames, like this fire. You would think you'd get some of that horrible purples, and the moire would be this. And these are JPEGs, guys. It's not like they were, really retouched or something. This is just what it looked. Now, granted, going from Fuji to Fuji to Fuji to Fuji, Fuji paper, Fuji
profiles,
printer,
printers,
to start
and
out
all
with
that stuff. Yeah.
Fuji profile, Fuji camera. that definitely does help.
Sure.
Having a start to finish process. But I tell you what, this APS-C low light condition, the quality and the size that these prints were, you would be able to use that camera all day long as a wedding photographer.
Absolutely.
Now, as we've said in the past, we don't know, what does that look like? I mean, I don't know. And until that adoption rate is, at 50% or plus, I think you'll still be, viewed as you sure that's the photographer, not just some guy taking photos? But maybe what will end up happening is us pros might use one of these small cameras, like for example, a Fuji, and stick it into a bracket with a battery grip on it. And now all of a sudden people are looking at this big bracket and they're really not looking at the camera gear that's inside the bracket.
Right.
And that might be a way to kind of get around that whole, perception of you're just like another guy,
Sure.
Whereas, look at, Uncle Buck over there. He's got the big monster, 5D Mark III with the big telephoto. He must be the photographer.
Yeah,
and this guy is just taking snaps with his rangefinder. What the heck is that?
Right.
So, it's always perception, right?
It is, but you know what? When you get guys like Zach Arias and if Chase Jarvis were to jump into this mirrorless body thing, when you get the big boys out there using this equipment, then all of a sudden it starts becoming, the norm. Like this is okay to do, and I think that will help the adoption, the acceptance within the professional photo community, and then once that gains more ground, you'll start seeing it hitting that mainstream, and then it will become the norm that this is okay to use these types of cameras because they're incredible quality. It's just like a Leica too, right? I mean, we know for a fact that those are incredible quality. I mean, they're very expensive, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 for these things. But looking at them, I mean, they're just a little box. They don't look like anything major, and to an untrained person, they're going to think like, oh, what is that, an old film camera? I used to have an old 35 millimeter film camera. It looked like that, So it's just acceptance. It's just the adoption. But anyway, really cool stuff. I mean, PhotoPlus Expo was definitely a lot of fun. It was definitely worth the trip. Joe and I had a great time. Got lots of goodies in our little press bag, which is always
I know,
nice.
right? Actually, I ended up, I didn't need any more of the press material, so I actually gave my bag to, one of the fans that came, that talked to us for a while. Really nice guy. His name was Edward. He's from Steel City Photography. He's out of Easton, PA.
Yeah.
But, he was a really nice guy. We talked to him for a while. He's been listening and watching the show for a long time. But, that's where my press bag ended up going.
That's good.
So, shout out to you, Edward. Thanks for meeting up with us.
That's right. So, all right, man.
We are done.
We got to get out of here. I'm about done.
Absolutely.
I can't breathe anymore, and I
hear
need
you.
to kill it. So
I'll probably be sick in 72 hours too, as it incubates in my body.
That's right.
Thanks.
That's right. So, Joe, if people want to connect with you outside of the show, what's the best way for them to reach you?
You can find me on Twitter, and that's at Joseph Christina, and that's Christina without an H.
Great. And you can connect with me on Twitter. It's at Trevor Current.
So, all right, everyone, we are out of here for another week. You can get all the show notes from this episode by visiting digitalphotographycafe.com/127. And don't forget to send your questions and comments to comments@digitalphotographycafe.com, or simply call 440-345-6707. Once again, that's 440-345-6707, and we will see you next week.
You've been watching the Digital Photography Cafe Show with Trevor Current and Joseph Christina. Be sure to subscribe to the show for free in iTunes or through RSS. You can also listen on Stitcher and TuneIn Radio and watch in HD on TiVo. Visit digitalphotographycafe.com for show notes and to connect with your hosts.